And welcome back to Broader Financial Future, your BFF when it comes to all things finance. In today's video, I'm going to talk about an important topic, and that's building an emergency fund. Now, before we get started, make sure you hit that subscribe button. It really helps out the channel. We're almost at 500 subscribers, so we just need a couple more people to say hit subscribe. And just to get us there, in addition to that, smash the like button. For some reason, everybody says it on YouTube, so I guess it's like in a contract. It helps the algorithm, they say. So let's get started. All right, so we are back. So let's jump into a couple of surveys that I read. One survey that I read when it comes to building an emergency fund, 1 in 4 Americans have no emergency fund. Now, another survey, almost 40% of American adults wouldn't be able to cover a $400 emergency with either cash, savings, or a credit card charge that they could quickly pay off, according to a Federal Reserve survey. About 27% of those surveyed would need to either borrow the money or sell something to come up with the $400, and an additional 12% would not be able to cover it at all, according to the Federal Reserve study that I found for 2018. Unfortunately, it's not a newer study, but that's basically one of the studies I was able to find when it comes to these particular numbers. So when it comes down to it, I believe there's 4 different type of accounts everyone should have. And the most important is an emergency fund. So let's get right into it. Now, what is an emergency fund? Now, an emergency fund is a separate savings or bank account used to cover or offset the expense of an unforeseen situation or event. It shouldn't be considered like a spending account or a nest egg to buy something you want. This money is strictly for emergencies only. It shouldn't be used to, buy a new toy or a gift. Instead, this fund serves as a safety net, only be tapped when an emergency occurs. So that's the only time you want to use this fund is in the event of an emergency. Not for a vacation or a date you want to take someone out to. These are strictly for emergency use purposes only. And what else do we need to know here? How much should you save? Now, the rule of thumb when it comes to an emergency fund is to save up to 6 months to 3 months worth of savings. Now, the reason why you want to save that much is, say, for example, hopefully this happen, but if you lose your job or something dramatic happens, you want to be able to have a buffer to kind of support you until you're able to get back on your feet. So this fund should be able to cover your rent or any expenses during that time. Because at the end of the day, even if you do qualify for unemployment, sometimes it's slow, you're not going to get it right away. Or transitioning to a new job, you don't get paid on the first week, so it takes time. But I recommend building if you do not have an emergency fund, you're just starting out, or you're just just catching up on your bills, I would recommend building $1,000 fund first, and then move on to a 3 to 6 months emergency fund next. Because at the end of the day, it's about building blocks. At least you have the $400 covered. You have to spend something right away. $1,000 is a nice little buffer as you build to having 3 to 6 months worth of expenses. Now, this can be, especially when you're going to 3 to 6 months, it can come off a little daunting by moving up to, say, $1,000 over time, by putting small amounts away each week or every month, anywhere from $25 a week or a month, whatever you can afford, because at the end of the day, everybody lifestyle is different, everybody expenses are different, how much everybody who watches this video is different. $25 may be a lot to me, but it may not be anything to someone else. It may, $10,000 might be a lot to someone else, and maybe a small amount. It really depends on what is your expenses and how much you're making. And one of the best ways to do this is to set up automatic deposits when it comes to building this emergency fund. All right. In addition, where should you put the money? Well, that's a great question. I recommend a separate bank account with automatic deposits would be best. Somewhere you can easily have access to the money if you need it. So you don't want to put it somewhere like the stock market or a retirement account. But at the end of the day, you want to have this money if you need it, you can have access to it right away. In addition to that, the benefit of having a separate bank account, say for example, you bank with Wells Fargo, your emergency account could be with Chase, or you bank with Chase, it could be with Bank of America. Whatever it is, it's good to have a separate bank account. That way, you're not really looking at it um, all the time. It's not something. It's easy if you have like a statement with two banks that says two different, like say for example, you have a checkings and a savings. Uh, and when you have it in the same bank account, it's easy to kind of mix the money together. Subconsciously, having a separate bank account uh, typically works best. All right. When should you use this money? Now, I briefly discussed this as well. The goal is to tap your emergency savings only for expenses directly related to an unexpected emergency, like a job loss or unforeseen injury, something like that. You don't want to tap into the savings um, if you don't need it for any type of emergency. Like I stated before, this is only for emergency purposes only. And if you ever have to tap into these funds, make sure you build it up right away. So determine what is a good uh, emergency fund for you. Is it 3 months, 6 months, whatever that case may be? Say, for example, you want to build up to 3 months worth of expenses. That amount is 2,500. You build up to 2,500. And anything in your lifestyle change, you want to be able to replenish the money if you need to use that at any given time. Because the goal is to make sure you have that money in case of an emergency, and you want that money to be there. You don't want to use the money for emergency and just kind of forget about replenishing it as quickly as possible. And that's one of the. So for me, I believe everybody should have four different type of accounts. This is number one. I think this is the most important account any and everyone should have. It doesn't matter if you're building up $5 a month, $5 a week, $25 a month, whatever it is, even more if you have a couple of hundred, whatever you can do, build up the emergency fund as soon as possible, especially if you're going to get a stimulus check depending on where you live at. If you haven't gotten one already, this is a good place to put your money in case of an emergency. In addition, let me know, do you already have an emergency fund? If so, do you plan on do you have an emergency fund for a 3 month period, 6 months, or something else? What is your emergency fund strategy? Don't forget to subscribe, like the channel. Until next time, everybody, uh, have a good one. Peace.